Hi everybody, welcome to the show, The Court of Public Opinion we call it. Comes to you from the garage, and it goes, well, I don't know, as far as this modern technology can take us. It's on Facebook, and you can find us very easily on Facebook, Jeremy Cordo's Court of Public Opinion, or on quite a few different platforms. You can listen to us as a podcast. But if you want to look at the show and how we put it together, have a look at Facebook. Before we get into the stuff of the day, April the 28th, some of the birthdays and things for which we remember the day. 2021, Michael Collins, American Major General, USAF, and astronaut. He was part of the Gemini program, Apollo 10, Apollo 11. He dies of cancer at the age of 90. But, you know, the risks that man would have taken in his service career would have been unbelievable. To make it, live that life and make it through to 90, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Jay Leno, American comedian and TV talk show host, The Tonight Show, who was born 1950. He now does a lot of stuff. I see a lot of stuff on YouTube. All his car things that he does, endless sort of angles on his car collection, which apparently is one of the most stunning in the world. And he doesn't have any children, and he's been married to the same lady all his life. Now, my suggestion, musing to myself here, if he had like Johnny Carson had, I don't know, 7 or 8 wives. I've lost track. He lost track, in fact. And, you know, the more wives you have and the more children you have, of course, the less toys you have. True. Saddam Hussein, President of Iraq, 1937, was born. He died in 2003. No, he was 1979, President of Iraq from 1979 to 2003. He was born in Iraq, 1937, and he died 2006 in a most inglorious manner. Oskar Schindler, the Austrian businessman and subject of the novel Schindler's Ark and later the film Schindler's List, was born in Austria-Hungary. He died in 1974, but born this day in 1908. All-round good guy. Charles Sturt, English explorer, Australia, born in India, in Bengal of British India, in 1795. He died in 1869. Mussolini, Benito Mussolini, La Duce, I think they called him. 1945, fascist Italian dictator. From 1922 to 1943, he was shot and hung by communist partisans. He was aged 61, and to add insult to injury, they hung him from a light pole, upside down, hung him by his legs. They clearly didn't like him. Carolyn Jones, American actress. Morticia in the Addams Family. Ah, lovely lady. 1930 was born. Fletcher Christian leads a mutiny on HMS Bounty against Captain William Bligh in the South Pacific, 1789. Media proprietor Rupert Murdoch. Well, this shoots down my argument that the more wives you have and the more children you have, the less money you have. Rupert just shot that down. Rupert Murdoch, media proprietor, it says here, 1967. He marries. He was only 36. He weds his second wife, journalist Anna Torv, who was 22. They were divorced in 1999, which is a fair length of marriage, length of time. Yeah, because 1967, that was the year I was up in Grafton at 2GF, and John Torv, Anna Torv, therefore Rupert Murdoch's brother-in-law, we worked at the same radio station. And I remember one day he turned up in a green, oh God, the envy among the other people who worked at the radio station. He turned up in his brand new MGB, British Racing Green, and announced to everyone that his sister had just married Rupert Murdoch. But then again, even back in 1967, Rupert Murdoch was a very, very significant and wealthy man. And that's good, all his own doing. Lionel Barrymore, American actor. It's a Wonderful Life, Dr. Kildare, Key Largo, born in Philadelphia, 1878. Penelope Cruz, Spanish actress. Vanilla Sky, Waking Up in Reno. Pirates of the Caribbean, that's where I remember seeing her. Madrid in Spain, born in 1974. And Tony, you'd be interested in this one. 1967, the Douglas Aircraft Company, behind schedule with deliveries of the DC-8 and the DC-9 and close to bankruptcy, agrees to merge with the McDonnell Aircraft Corporation to form McDonnell Douglas. Scary thought. Did they make the DC-10?
Scary thought.
Even scarier thought. I have to tell you. Have you ever been on a DC-10? I mean, oh God, let's not go there. Or anywhere in one of those. Now, an Aboriginal I used to respect, and I've talked to him many, many times over the years, Stan Grant. Stan Grant. He does Q&A. I say I used to respect him because of this. I don't. He's written a book, and it's called The Queen is Dead. The Queen is Dead. And I'll read you a little bit about this tome, which is scary. Where will I start? ABC host Stan Grant has revealed he felt betrayed by the national broadcasters' coverage of the Queen's death, and his anger was visceral at Australia's show of mourning. His anger was visceral because of the sadness displayed by Australians at the death of the Queen. The Q&A presenter was speaking to the ABC on Monday, their Radio National breakfast program, to promote his new book called The Queen is Dead, in which he decries whiteness and describes the UK's longest reigning monarch as the last white queen. Now, if you or I or anyone started to talk about someone's blackness, we would be called racists. I find this, from a journalist of his standing, to be quite astounding. Stan Grant, 59 years of age, said he met the Queen several times and had nothing against her personally. He goes on to say, I felt betrayed. And I think that's really, I think that was really the moment that inspired me to write the book. This book was written in a flurry. It was a cathartic book. It was a book that opened up and fell onto the pages. I wrote this book in about 8 weeks from the death of the Queen to when I finished the book. And when it was written, it was done in real time. The things that were happening around me, I put into the book. He talked about his own reflections, his own struggles, and he did it in real time. I don't know why that matters. When the Queen died, I didn't anticipate the response that I would have, which was a visceral rage. How dare you? How dare the Queen just die and this country go into mourning? Oh, Stan, for God's sake. And yet, what about my own people, who continue to be the most impoverished and imprisoned people in the world? Well, what we do with poverty is we go to work. We prosper. How we keep out of jail is we don't break the law. What about my people who die 10 years younger? Well, Stan, could there be some lifestyle issues here? I'm sure I could kill myself in a fortnight if I wanted to. What about our people? I don't know. I really don't know what to say about that. Anyway, I'm not going to go out and buy the book. I'll put it to you that way. Nearly 18,000 people died of heart trouble in the last year. Now, this could, of course, be brought about by, indeed, lifestyle problems, habits. Heart trouble is largely preventable. There are some genetic problems, of course. Well, it might interest you to know, if you haven't heard, that the Medicare item that checks for heart trouble, this is putting the fence at the top of the cliff instead of the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Well, they have just removed the fence. Now, I find this extraordinary. We all should speak to our local Member of Parliament and petition him or her to stop that and put that particular item back on the Medicare list. That is the item that allows a doctor to check your heart. Goodness me. I mean, frankly, there are a lot of things they could cut before they cut that one. Frankly. Don't know what you think, but I'd be interested to get your feedback. Did you see Four Corners on Monday? Did you? According to the ABC, well, I suppose it was all aimed at the Murdoch family, but they sort of pointed it at Fox News. Fox News. Evil, because they backed and believed in Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump is an odd character, isn't he? Polarising. You either love him or you hate him. I think he's a bit of a bull in a china shop, and I probably wouldn't vote for him. But the fact of the matter is this Four Corners show was attacking Murdoch and Fox because they were partisan. So bloody what, I say. The ABC is openly partisan. It's out there promoting a yes vote for The Voice. They are Labour to their boot heels. An editorial stance, I think, is okay. Particularly, it's okay for the free press. It's okay for Murdoch, but I would not think so much okay for the national broadcaster. But certainly, it's okay for Fox. But now, after having settled that Dominion defamation case in New York for a huge amount of money, they've got yet another case that they have to deal with, which is this Smartmatic company. This time, Smartmatic, they're going for $2.7 billion. Now, this is all very dangerous. Very dangerous. No telling where it's going to end. There's nothing new about a publisher taking a political side. It's been going on for centuries. It's been going on since newspapers were first published. But the big problem is that for the average American, or the average citizen, all of this talk about the election was stolen and the counting was wrong and corrupt and all of that, the real damage that's being done is it's undermining public faith in the democratic process. In other words, elections. I don't know, in this fragile world in which we live, we can afford to underestimate or denigrate or even really frankly destroy the process of going out there and voting. And not everyone, quite frankly, is going to think that the election, the right guys got elected in. True. Peter Hollingworth, the former Governor-General, has admitted that he made mistakes. Well, many people, we all make mistakes. And back in the day, there were some fairly common mistakes. There were these people the other day who wanted him to be defrocked. Well, if you applied the requirements of today to yesterday, you'd be doing a hell of a lot of defrocking. But I will admit that in a fairly damning interview on the ABC that night, his great sin was that he was honest. This is when it all began to unravel for the Archbishop, the Governor-General. His great sin was that he was honest, quite forthcoming. Why? Well, the ABC didn't really seem to pursue the fact that not just his church, but all churches tolerated paedophilia. They moved paedophiles around. They reaccommodated them. They repositioned them. Why, indeed, did the ABC not ask? You see, that is what people did in those days. Schools did it, churches did it, radio and television stations did it, institutions, government departments. And you could say, well, hell, you know, you're covering up crime. Now, I personally wish that we could go back in history and do a whole lot of things again, differently, but sadly we can't. The past is the past. But on the subject of former Governors-General, tomorrow I'll tell you about, well, I suppose you'd call it an embarrassing truth. It's quite disturbing, really. Anyway, we'll do that tomorrow. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself. Pete and I will be back tomorrow. Bye.